Hey, it's me, Kathy. It can be a play day, and it's going to be. I had some flat meat. These are steak tips, but technically flat meat in my freezer. I pulled them out yesterday to thaw out, and they are thawed out. And I also have on hand some King's Hawaiian rolls, and I'm going to do something fun with those. But the first thing we're going to do is marinate our steak. So we'll be doing that later because the steak has to marinate for a while to make it nice and tender. And let's do my marinade. Back in the day, I came up with this marinade that I thought was delicious, and it consists of ketchup, and an equal part of Worcestershire sauce, and some tarragon. I love tarragon with beef, so a pretty decent amount. And I love garlic, so a good hefty amount of garlic. And for just a little kick, some green curry paste. Where did that idea come from? Who the heck knows? Okay, and we're gonna whisk this up. I learned a long time ago, in fact, my very first restaurant job, 37 or so years ago, that if you use citrus juice or acidic juices to marinate meat, it helps break down the tough muscles and makes it much more tender. So what I do with this one is pineapple juice. Oh, this is pineapple and orange juice. That'll work. I used to just use pineapple juice. But... So that's going in. Now, when I used to make this back in markets to marinate steak with, I used to make it by the gallon, so it's hard for me to remember how to do it in a small batch. But we are all ready to go, and this is going to get marinated for several hours. And there it is, my steak marinade. We're going to transfer our steak pieces into a Ziploc bag. And let Kelly lick this dish. She can love it. And then in goes our marinade. This is the best way to fully coat the meat. Seal it up tight. Squish it around a little bit. Get it well coated. Get it all down in there. Let the air out. And we're going to let this sit in the fridge. And then we're gonna finish our project. Our steak is all marinated up, and I have removed it from the refrigerator so it can sit out at room temperature. First thing we're gonna do though is make some blue cheese dressing. The first thing we're gonna do is make some buttermilk because it takes a few minutes to set up. So a cup of milk and a tablespoon of lemon juice or vinegar is the recipe for that. Stir it up, let it sit until it gets thick and buttery. We're gonna start this by putting in about half of this container of blue cheese into a bowl. I should have done the smaller pieces, but anyway. And 3 tablespoons of our very nicely thickened buttermilk. There it is. Oh, my hand's in the way. So 1. And 2, and 3. We're gonna mash this together with a fork. Until it looks like large curd cottage cheese. That's gonna take a bit. So we'll show you when it's done. Here's our buttermilk and blue cheese smushed up together, and now we're gonna add the rest of our ingredients, which will be 3 tablespoons of sour cream, 1, 2, 3, 2 tablespoons of white wine vinegar, 1, and 2 tablespoons of mayo. This is a really deep jar. I don't know if I can get in there with this little tiny spoon. Okay, gotta go wash my hands. A tiny little sprinkle, about 1/8 of a teaspoon of sugar. Some garlic powder. Salt and pepper. And we're gonna mix it up. Stirring it up real well. And the reason we did the dressing first, so it could sit and flavors can marry and incorporate, and the longer it sits, the better it's gonna taste. And it's nice and creamy. Let's see if we want some more chunkiness in there. I have decided that I do want this chunkier, so in this goes. I like my blue cheese dressing chunky. And that is going to be good with our steak tip and caramelized onion sliders. If I hadn't mentioned, that's what we're making. The next ingredient to our sliders is going to be caramelized onions. So I have a sweet Vidalia onion that I'm going to slice into nice thin slices. And caramelized onions, as you know, take a while. So we'll slice these up and then cook them up. We're going to start our onions in a skillet over medium heat, and we will eventually lower the heat. And some olive oil, a couple tablespoons worth. Seems to be all I got. I got another bottle, but I think that's enough. And now our onions are going in. Onions are in the pan, starting to sizzle up. We're going to season them up with some salt and pepper. And when these start to soften up, we're going to lower the temperature and cook them down so they're lightly browned, nicely caramelized. And I have decided that while these cook, and not yet because it's not going to take as long, I'm actually going to broil those steak tips in my broiler. So we'll get to that in just a minute. I've just turned our onions down and they still have to cook for a while, but let's get our steak ready. I don't have a broiler pan, but this one will work. It's a sheet pan with a rack. And we're going to lay out our tips. And we're going to sear them or broil them for about 2 minutes aside. And then we'll let them cool down. And we will prepare them. I'm going to brush these with the extra marinade. And I'm going to save the rest of the marinade to do the other side when we flip them over. And as soon as the broiler's ready, we're going in. Meanwhile, we have to keep moving our onions around so that they're evenly cooked. Try to spread them out into this. This is why I did a whole onion, because when you caramelize onions, they shrink down to practically nothing. And these are shrinking down already. So let's keep it going. And there they are. We'll see how this goes. Here are our steak tips out of the oven. I turned them over. And I'll show you how they are browned on the other side. And I'm brushing them with the last of the marinade. It took 3 minutes under the broiler. And now we're going in for another 3. Our onions are just about done, and our steak tips are out of the broiler. We're going to set them aside to cool so I can cut them up in slider size pieces, and these will be done real soon too, and then we're going to get on with it. Our caramelized onions are ready, softened and shrunken and slightly browned. I turned the heat off, and we're going to let them cool down a bit, and we're getting ready to cut our steak tips. Getting ready to cut up our steak tips. They're little more cooked than I thought they were gonna be, I think. That's just the end piece, so it's hard to tell. But we're gonna cut them up into little, tiny little bite-sized pieces so they don't stick all over those slider rolls. Oh yeah, looking pretty good. That's a good size. Let's keep going till we're all done with these. Here's our steak tip yield. I have no idea how many sliders this is gonna make, but we'll figure it out. Now it's time for us to prepare to assemble our sliders. I'm gonna spray a baking sheet with some non-stick cooking spray. Not a baking sheet, a baking dish. I think we'll do 8. That seems to fit in there okay. So let's slice this in half. We're gonna cut our sliders in half this way. We're using a serrated knife. Bottoms in the dish. And now we're gonna top them up and bake them up. First thing that's going on is our blue cheese dressing. This dressing came out so good. Spread it all over the place. All the way out to the edges. Add more if we need to. Take some off if we need to do that too. Next, our onions are going on. Spread them out nice and evenly. Okay, it's steak time. What I really should be doing is this. Making little piles on each sandwich. So it's easy to cut through. I'm gonna press it down before the top goes on. And before the top goes on, I'm gonna wash my hands because I touched all that meat. Before we put the tops on, more blue cheese. Blue cheese dressing is on, and now it's going to be top. Now we can press again. And there's one more thing I'm going to do before we go into the oven. We're going to brush the tops of these with some melted butter. And I'm not sure that the flavor game is right, but I have these everything bagel seeds, and it's garlic and onion and salt and sesame seeds and poppy seeds, so that should be all right. So we're going to sprinkle the tops with the everything bagel seasoning. And we're going in for about 15 minutes. Maybe I'll check them in 10. See where they stand. And here are our steak, caramelized onion, and blue cheese sliders before they go in, and we'll see what they look like when they come out. Our blue cheese, steak, and caramelized onion sliders are out of the oven, browned up, hot, and now we're gonna take them up, cut them up, and serve them up. Okay, ready to go. What I did was I took the serrated knife and cut through the bread. And now we're going to take a regular knife and just give it a push. Get through to the bottom. And now we're going to go this way. I'm going to do halfway. do the other half. Now we're all the way through and our fingers are covered with the seeds. And here's what we look like. Yummy, creamy, steaky, oniony. And now we're gonna serve them up. Look, here we are on a little plate. And again, there's what the insides look like. And now I think we should take a bite. Thank you for joining me while I played with my steak and blue cheese and onions. Made these little sliders. Turns out it's game day, and this would make a nice halftime snack. And going in, so yummy and messy. And that was a fun way to play. And we'll see you again soon.